So I've been in this for a very, very long time, and my journey has continued and continued and continued to the point where whether it's I was in college, in most cases, you only can tell you that I've always been in the local organizations. We've always fought battles. I remember in college at Georgia State University, we created a coalition with Clark Atlanta students, Selma students, Moore students, where we saved Soul Store bookstore against the last Olympic committee. So we won battles. I think though at a certain point in my activism, I was on the front line so tired. I got really, really tired, and I felt like I needed to breathe. So I kind of pushed back a little bit more and began to focus more on my career. I'm a journalist, international publicist, and I've been using activism, music, and movement, combined all those things. After I graduated from university, I moved to Jamaica as a publicist. I worked for IRA from the #1 radio station there for 11 years. I served as a publicist for Sizzla. I missed something major. Before I started working with Sizzla, I was the Southeast coordinator of the Million Youth March. I was mentored by Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who I met through my mom and my father, Sayyid Mutal, brought Dr. Khalid Muhammad to the Gambia for the International Homecoming Festival, which was a festival that was about healing, repatriating, and dealing with the issues of reparations. It was from that trip when Dr. Khalid came to the Gambia that when he returned to America, that he brought some gifts from my dad, and Dr. Khalid took me under his wing as a youth leader, and he began to groom me and mentor me until the day that he died. It shook me so much that when the opportunities opened up for me to live in Jamaica, the industry over there, it was just like, okay, this is God sent. I ended up working with Sizzla for about 15 years. I worked with Iron for 11 years. And I've worked with a number of other reggae artists, and I use my movement experience and all the things that I have learned as an organizer, and I started to fuel and penetrate it with the artists because I felt like because they had such
Sister Olimata, I think we're losing you, but this is the 2-minute mark. Sister Yomi, we might have lost
I'm muted. I think that we may have lost her, but we do want to thank our sister for her contribution and her sharing, for her activism, for her leadership. As she said, she has been in this movement for many, many years. As she said, she was breastfed on activism. Long, extensive history for a young girl. How old did she say she was? How old's Oli now? Mecca, was she like 28?
Oh Lord, no, she's 40 something.
Oh, is she 40 now? Oh Lord, time that got by me. Time that got by me.
I met her when she was like 16 back in 1991 or something.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm making a record of y'all ages here. All right. But
okay,
anyway,
yeah, so I was born in 91, so if I'm 28, that's plus 16.
Okay, okay. So so again, we give thanks for that. She is coming to us from the Gambia, West Africa, which she repatriated back to her homeland. So we want to thank her for that. I see we have been joined by another freedom fighter, Miss Freedom Fighter, our sister, Lady Freedom. But before you go, we're going to let our brother Sammy Sanchez get up in here and tell us all about himself, how old he is, where is he coming from, and what type of work he's been doing as a youth activist. Great smile, King. Great smile.
I know, right? I'm like, okay.
We see you. We see you. Open your mic. We can't hear you.
So you're unmuted, but we're not getting sound. So
there's Alicia. Hey, baby girl.
Click the little headphone looking thing, Brother Sammy. Click the little lower left corner that looks like a little headphone and join audio. Oh. Click connect to audio or something like that.
Also make sure that your Bluetooth is unconnected.
No Bluetooth.
Look at this help family. Thank you.
Okay.
Teamwork.
All right, I'll tell you what we do. We're going to give you a chance to work that out. It's either the microphone is down in the left-hand corner, right? Or like she said, the headphones that says click the audio.
The easiest might be, Brother Sanchez, to just sign out and then sign back in and then reconnect that way.
And while we're waiting for him to come back in, we're going to throw it to Brother Kwesi Amin.
Yes.
Kumasi. I'm sorry, Kumasi. Why I keep wanting to change your name? Kumasi Amin. I knew that.
Oh, you are perfectly fine. Can everybody hear me?
Not so good. Say it again.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Now we can. That's better.
Yeah.
Yes, stay right there. We can hear you better.
All right. I bring you all revolutionary greetings. My name is Kamasi Amin from Montgomery, Alabama. And I would just like to take the time to, shout out to the elders on the chat. And that was also yesterday. Shouting out, of course, to Mama Yomi. Shouting out to Mama Faya Teray. Shouting out to Baba Lucata in Jackson, Mississippi right now. And also shouting out to Baba Dr. Gregory Carr. It really amazed me to know that you guys all know each other. That blew my mind because I was not introduced to any of you through each other, but I met y'all at individual times. And just to know that y'all all have some type of familiarity with each other, it's striking to me. So that really makes me fall deeper in love with the movement and fall deeper in love with the passion that we have for each other. I'll be brief because I'm not somebody who likes to really talk about myself. I guess the way that I entered into the movement, I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama, as I said. I attended Booker T. Washington Magnet High School when I was younger. And that was the school that Claudette Colvin, if everybody knows who Claudette Colvin was, she was actually the first person to resist her seat for a white person, which really kickstarted the Montgomery bus boycott and allowed everybody to jump on at Rosa Parks, everybody else to plan something, design something in which they wanted to build a movement around this item. So one of the first things that I was doing, I would say, was to try to get her name to be more known throughout the school. Every year we had a Black History program that was not mandatory. And so a lot of our white teachers would say, oh no, you can't go because we have classwork, we have coursework. And so we didn't know too much about Black history outside of Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. And so I wanted to make sure that we knew who Claudette Colvin was. And all those high school things that had to happen, for that, I think I put up some posters around the school, or I wrote a letter to the principal. She didn't take it too nicely. And she was like, well, I met Claudette Colvin. And I was like, that's fine. I'm glad you know who that is, but we don't know or have any idea who this person is. And she is an elder. She was one of the persons who walked these halls. Matter of fact, Capitol Heights. I live in Capitol Heights. So she took the bus from Capitol Heights to go to Booker T. Magnet High School before it was a magnet school, because that was the all-Black school back in the day. And we had no idea who this person is. So that was one of the major ways in which I was really starting to become radicalized in my youth. Another point was when Troy Davis was murdered by the state, who was placed on death row for a crime that he did not commit. That's and right. Everybody knew that he didn't commit it. Actually, there was so much evidence against the conviction that when he was being brought before death row again, everybody's just like, this is an outrage. We shouldn't allow this to happen. So I placed, all this was individual. This was before I went to college, just before I learned what Kwame Ture was talking about with organize, only through collective input, and can we get a righteous freedom output. So I just placed a poster on my locker that said something to the effect of, why did they hate us? Why did they want us dead? And all the white kids just did not like that. They told the principal again. The only reason I didn't get suspended for a lot of these things was because my mother was the head of the PTA. And she's always been like somebody that makes sure that she's in some type of connection with the administration, because she knows that I be doing a lot of wild stuff. So for a lot of it, I didn't get suspended. But I think that those items especially were something that really radicalized me during my youth and allowed me to get to a point where when I entered college, I could enter it with an understanding that I already wanted to do something to this effect. I already wanted to be involved in some work that was similar to this. I didn't know it was going to be activism, but I knew I wanted to talk about the conditions that we as Black people in this country, in this settler state, face on a day-to-day basis. And it was actually going to Howard University, where it's not like they manufacture revolutionaries, because that's not the case. A lot of the times it's a neo-colonial project. But meeting a lot of the teachers, specifically from the Africana Studies Department, again, talking to Dr. Carr, talking to Dr. Myers, Joshua Myers, and just different individuals really helped me to understand everything that was going on, allowed me to analyze our conditions, allowed me to try to look back on my upbringing, and look back on a lot of my peers' upbringing, and see where and why we were the way that we were, psychologically, physically, all that. So involved in a lot of organizations on campus. We formed after, I think it was Michael Brown's murder in 2014, we formed an organization called Cop Killer Society. It was something that was just very small. It was mostly about raising consciousness and propagandizing things. We did a individual die-in that kind of got a lot of attention because it was just somebody, and it was somebody that was laid out in the middle of the yard, in the middle of the sun, in like April or May. And people would come up to check. And we just really wanted to gauge the temperature on campus with that. And we tried to see what ways people actually cared about each other. You know, like if you saw somebody that was just laying on the street, would you walk past them, or would you check and see if they're all right? So we just really wanted to gauge the temperature of the campus with that. So folks would come by and they would check and see if we were okay. And they would try to get us up because they thought that maybe we were drunk or like we just passed out. And that really opened up a lot of folks' eyes and let them know, okay, this isn't just a campus where we just like to have fun, or we're all individualistic and we all just are doing this for a career. There is a type of family network that is here. So we need to build upon that family network that already exists at this school and try to see how we can utilize this connection that we have to get our freedom. Oh, okay, that's somebody was saying something. Then I was a part of another organization called HU Resist on campus. Upon graduating, I really decided that I wanted to return back to the South because we were studying a lot on campus, and we were studying the work of the elders again, studied SNCC, studied the Black Panther Party, studied the Republican New Africa RAM, and the idea of a Black nation in the 5 states of the South really spoke to us. So a lot of us who were on campus, of course, we didn't want to be in the South. If you grew up in the South, you don't really want to be there because you come from or just any state that you come from, you feel like you have to get up out of it. So I never thought I would come back to Alabama. But after going to school, I realized that I really wanted to help build the Black nation and find some way to utilize the nation state to liberate us from the tentacles of white supremacy, from the tentacles of capitalism. And so I moved to Jackson, Mississippi, went to Jackson State University, still going to Jackson State University, obtaining my master's degree in history. Did some work with Cooperation Jackson out there with Kali and everybody. Did some work with BYP 100 out there. And I've recently just moved back to Montgomery, Alabama, where I am working with Mama Yomi. And I'm also working with Mama Faya Toure and Brother Hank Sanders and everybody who's just been, despite, I don't know, they just have so much fire, and it's really inspiring me, and it's making me sometimes ashamed because I don't see my people, my younger people coming out here and really putting down. But I also know that, like, as Brother Huey Newton said, the people learn by watching. And so if we feel hopeless and all we see is hopelessness, then until we see that actual material result, we're not going to get involved in it. You know, that's just the way some of us are, because we've been conditioned by white supremacy and capitalism to navigate our world in that way and just focus on the individual gains, because that's how we see everybody else operating. So hopefully we can build something or rebuild something in Montgomery, Alabama that was as strong as the movement was back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I love to see the cities in the South. Like, I have comrades in Jacksonville, Florida, who are really putting it down. I have comrades in Atlanta and Birmingham. I love to see how powerful their movements are, because in my eyes, every place that was like a citadel of resistance during that time period was crushed so totally by COINTELPRO that it's really hard to rebuild a lot what we got. So right now we're just hoping that we can rebuild everything that we had in Montgomery. But that's all I'm really gonna say. Like I said, I don't like talking about myself. I really just like to do the work and keep pushing and advancing. And I'm so honored to be around everybody, so honored to learn about everything that everybody's doing, and so honored to be in the space and at the feet of our elders, because I feel like y'all are just so important. And the charge, the message that you put out yesterday to really soak up the energy and the game that a lot of y'all have as us from the younger generation, we need to be sitting at y'all feet and learning from you as living legends. I take that very seriously. So I thank you all.
Ashe.
Can you guys hear me now? Is my sound on now?
Yep, I hear you, Brother Sanchez. So you're gonna go next, but thank you so much for those gems that you just dropped, Brother Kumasi, and I'm gonna let you be the first person to kick it off in our chat. There should be a place where you can put to all panelists, and so if you could drop your information, and I'll drop mine, other panelists that have spoken. If you could drop your information in the chat and where it says to all panelists, unless you want everybody on the call to have your information, then you can drop it to everyone. But I think it's very critical and important that we stay connected. I know that I've been an official member of NCOBRA for a little over a year now, but I know that we are trying to build our official membership. As I stated, Sister Yomi is passing the torch to me as the female co-chair of the Youth Commission. And so I'm coming after my peers, like people like you, people like Sister Leslie, people like Brother Antonio Travis and Brother Sanchez and other people that I know I'm gonna hear speak on this call tonight. I hope that hopefully you becoming a member of NCOBRA, but if you don't become a member of NCOBRA, I hope that we can still find ways to stay in contact to continue to do this, cross-state, transnational work, as we saw with Sister Olimata, who was speaking to us from Gambia earlier. And I know that's a conversation that will probably come up as the convention continues, but just our cross-cultural reparations roots and what that means. So Brother Kumasi, I really appreciate that you brought up the intergenerational dialogue, because we actually do have an intergenerational panel that will be happening tomorrow, and it will be very extensive, and it will have community activists, but it will also have leaders. But in this time, before we get to our keynote, Leslie Thomas, within the next 25 minutes here, I just want to kind of wrap up with our last few speakers. I'm going to pass it to Brother Sammy Sanchez. And then on deck, Sister Yomi, do you want to say who will be on deck after him?
Well, I was going to say, in the spirit of NCOBRA, will we do everything male and female? And since we just heard from a male, why don't we throw it to Sister Alicia? Okay. Are you there, Sister Alicia? I saw her.
Yes.
Okay, why don't we throw it over to Sister Alicia, and then we'll throw it to Brother Sammy, and then we'll go over to our girl, Lady Freedom. And I think we would have covered everybody. And we will be doing we'll let our Sister Jasmine Nicole finish after Lady Freedom with the song that she prepared for us this evening. And then we will have our featured speaker, Sister Leslie Redmond. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Go, Sister. Oh, wait a minute. And Brother Kumasi said, how old was he? 25?
Yes, I'm 25.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Take it away, Sister Alicia Irby.
All right. Hey, y'all. I'm not going to be very, very long. I'm just going to be brief as to how I got into activism. My mom was married to Don Bevel, who is the son of James Bevel. So that's when I really started to learn more about Black history, about African history, just about our culture altogether. And then once the death of Trayvon Martin happened, and once Lieberman was acquitted for killing this young Black man, I actually started a protest. Well, I said, well, I'm going to do a protest at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. So that's what I did. And somehow I met with Faya Rose, and I got her involved, and she started talking about it on the radio, because I went up to the radio station. I said, hey, I need your help with this protest, because this is just so unjust for this young Black man to be killed by this monster, and for him to just get off. So that's really how I ended up getting involved in activism altogether. That's how I met Abayomi. I love your name, by the way. That's how I met Abayomi. And we've been together ever since. So I've been doing protests. I've been doing rallies. The biggest one that I've ever actually done on my own was the Black Lives Matter rally back in, like, I want to say 2014, 2015. I really can't remember. And I had some people working with me, and we shut down the highway 280 in Birmingham. Like, people were getting off work early. Like, it was a total shutdown. But I figured the reason why I really started activism was my way to try to say I could change the world and help people, because what happened to that young man, that young boy, it should have never happened. You know what I mean? So that's really how I got involved in activism, and I've been doing it ever since. I started at like 20, if I'm not mistaken, 19 or 20, and I am 27 now. So yeah, that's it. I wasn't going to be long. I'm just very, very brief. But my work is extensive. I let it speak for myself. I don't really have to talk about it that much. But I'm done.
Thank you.
Sister Lily?
Yes. All right. So, Brother Sanchez, you are next.
Brother Sammy Sanchez.
All right. Hi. Can everybody hear me? Am I good?
Yes.
Hey.
So my name is Sammy Sanchez. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm originally from a city called Camden, New Jersey. If you know anything about Camden, you know what it is.
We know what it is.
I was born in Bronx, New York, but I was raised in Camden, New Jersey. What can I say about myself? I'm an activist by heart, by nature. I've always been somebody who steps up for other people. This became more and more clear to me as I got older. I just became a servant. I just connected with people who were servants at all times, and I was always trying to be a servant in some way, even though I grew up in an environment that wasn't very serving of my people. If you know anything about Jersey, you know it's one of the most racist states in the country, if not the most racist state. And so I didn't realize that, because at that time I had not realized that I was Black, because I grew up in a Spanish household that told me that I was a descendant of a Spaniard or some foolishness that wasn't real. And so I had no Black love. I didn't understand my Blackness. I didn't understand why I was connected to African Americans that were in my community, even though nobody spoke English in my household. Even though they demonized African Americans, I felt deeply connected to Black people, because even I didn't see myself as a Black man yet, right? And so I just, all my friends were African Americans. My family never understood it. They didn't get it. But I just engrossed myself in the culture because I felt that it was in me. And this evolved as I got older. And when I was 23, I ended up, I had a lot of different wild life situations, but people always noticed that I was pretty intelligent and helped me out, and when I was 23, somebody pushed me to go to college. Somebody said, hey, you got this high school diploma, you're really smart, what are you doing with yourself? And so when I got to, I said, I was homeless at the time, actually. So I didn't know what I was doing with myself. I just knew that I like making quick money, and I was trying to figure it out. But when I got on the college campus, I found my purpose. One of the first classes I had to take was an Africana Studies class, and I ended up being a literature major. And it changed my life. It made me a fierce leader. It gave me narrative. It gave me context. It gave me power. It gave me affiliation. And so I've taken that and I've put myself in many roles. I was a president of NAACP at my campus for about 2 years. And I was always either on the board or a mentor to whoever the president was of my NAACP chapter. I kind of was that Black leader on my white campus. I went to a school called Richard Stockton College of New Jersey. And I fought fearlessly to get to change the name of the school because it was a slave owner. I fought fiercely to get them to sponsor our transportation for conventions for NAACP events, and wherever we had to go, they had to send us because we're Black, and they couldn't ignore my people on this campus. And so that was my first taste of true activism. I organized marches during the Jenna 6 situation that was going on. I organized marches. I spoke at many marches. People started to acknowledge, I started to acknowledge a gift that I had of being an orator, right? I can speak. People can listen. I get attention when I speak. And so I've kind of used that to my advantage. And I've been invited to be a leader for many organizations. People have always invited me on their boards. I've taken the different route. I often decided to create my own organization, so or support other people in developing theirs. I got my undergrad in literature, but my master's is in dynamic nonprofit leadership. So I create nonprofits. I currently work for the government. I work for the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services. I work with incarcerated young people, creating and analyzing current programs that create impact in how our citizens return to the community after experiencing the slavery that is the prison system, right? And so I put myself in a position where I challenge all leadership. I don't care who you are, because I feel that if what you're creating isn't creating impact for Black people, then it really isn't creating impact for people at all. And so I've been blessed with a really strong mind that can develop and create programs, and that can look at things and do a quick SWOT analysis and tell you why it's not working. And so fast forward, I have a nonprofit. It's called From Within. It's a mentoring and advocacy program. I service about 100 young people here in DC, families. I paid for funerals. We pay for food. We pay for school uniforms. We pay for rehab. We pay for whatever you need. We make it happen. We find the money, and we educate, and engage, right? That's the goal, to educate and engage and advocate for our people, because the disparity that was caused by 400 years of slavery and systematic oppression has never been closed, right? It's never been repaired. So our people are creating programs. One of my greatest passions is getting young, educated people to realize that you gotta be in the streets. Mm-hmm. Because with your degree, with your education, you still can't close any gap. It doesn't matter how good my program is. It doesn't matter how good a teacher I am. It doesn't matter how good a developer I am. I can't even make a dent with all my brilliance. And I know I'm brilliant because I'm Black. So with all my brilliance, all my gifts, and I can say everything I just said in Spanish. I've been on Telemundo about 8 times, speaking about Blackness, speaking about reparation, speaking about Black movement, speaking about how my Black brothers and sisters in our Latino community need to join this reparation movement, join NCOBRA, partner with NCOBRA. And so I was blessed. I've always had a connection to elders. I worked as a CNA and a home health aide for like 10 years. And so I've always had a great belief that before you make any move in life, you better talk to an elder. And so when I found I was out protesting, I'm on the ground, I'm a boots on the ground frontline activist. And so when I was out there yelling at the cops and yelling at the military that was out there, and I kept saying Black Lives Matter, and I was saying defund the police, and I recognized that I had said that before. But the one thing I had never said loudly and in their faces was give us reparation, because It has always been a radical concept. It has always been taboo. It has always been something so far-fetched that when we think about it, it's like, oh, look at that crazy black man talking about reparations.